Welcome back, everybody, to your Feel Good Breakfast Show right here on SABC3. It is Monday, and it's time to talk about relationships. Now, in the last few decades, the voice and presence of women in sectors that are male-dominated has increased, but there are still so many obstacles we as women have to overcome in order to maintain true gender equality in the workplace. So today we're asking, how far has gender equality in the South African workplace come? Well, this morning we are joined in studio by therapist, speaker and trainer Asha Dullabh to help us discuss this topic. So good to have you with us this morning, Asha.
Good morning, lovely to be back.
Even though we have to kind of maintain our just always so good for us to have you actually here in person. I can't tell you, we've all really missed that human connection. This is quite a dynamic topic to talk about because we get approached it from so many angles. Let me start maybe with the statistics. Women are making up 46% of the workforce, which speaks to a shift that we are moving in the right direction, saying nothing of the wealth gap and the wage gap that I'm sure still is very dominant. But what does this say about the role that women are playing in society? How has that evolved as more women move into the workplace and out of the traditional role of staying at home, bringing up the children?
I think the key word there was definitely evolvement. I think that if you look at the conditioned mind of how women have been seen as the homemaker and the nurturer and the carer, women now are doing that in addition to so many other roles in the communities, in society, in government, and of course in the workforce. So I think women have evolved, and their role has actually amplified, bringing out the unique qualities in a woman. And I think women actually bring the emotional language into the workforce, their gentleness, their love, their empathy, their compassion. It all just is brought into the workforce now, which is very much needed.
Especially now. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you said that women are commanding our space in the workforce. But what are some of the pressures that, the modern women are still facing in South Africa?
Yeah, well, there are lots of pressures, of course. Women are feeling pressured by the time management, by having to manage the home versus work scenario. But I think that the pressures are actually, we need to look at it from an inside-out perspective. Looking at the internal scripts and the dialogue that women actually have within themselves. The scripts of, I'm not good enough, I need to be perfect, I need to try hard. Those internal pressures are the greatest struggle for women, apart from all the external. So we need to look at it more from an inside-out perspective. Those are the pressures that are really paralyzing women in the workforce.
And I want to touch on that because I think it's so important that when you say dialogue, because we as women need to have a dialogue with ourselves and start believing in ourselves in order for us to then push it over to the workspace and the workforce.
Don't look at Instagram. Yes, don't believe anything you see on Instagram. It's all nonsense.
Absolutely. I mean, women need women. We need to support each other. We need to be there for each other. I mean, the support is critical.
You say the support is critical, and I suppose from one side of this, we are looking for equality in terms of how people are treated within the workspace. But if you're managing a household, if you're playing the traditional role of a mother, which you have to do, and then still maintaining a dominance in that workspace, in your role, you're going to need extra support. Are women supported in their work structures, do you think, sufficiently?
I think there's a lot being done for women in the workplace. I think that, there's flexible hours, there's work from home options, there's childcare services offered now in the workplace. But I think when it comes to support, women need the support from the ones that are closest to her. And these are the relationships that women have in their lives, relationships with friends, with family, with work colleagues. This is what we are needing to nurture more, because I think that there's a support deficit in that regard. We are suffering relationship poverty. So the more women can experience more authentic, growth-orientated relationships with people that are closest to them, that's when they'll feel supported.
We're sitting in a relationship wasteland at the moment after lockdown. Obviously, everyone is craving more of that. Yeah. So many more questions to ask you, Asha. Thank you so much for joining us. You can, of course, join the conversation on our social media platforms. We are talking about women in the workplace, dominance, and how do you just manage to juggle it all. We'll continue the conversation in a moment.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Yes, indeed, you're still back with us on the start to a brand new week. It is Monday, so we're talking all things relationships. And today, therapist, speaker and trainer Asha Dullabh is joining in studio to help us discuss how far women have come in the workplace in South Africa in light of Women's Month, of course. So much to unpack. We just spoke to Professor Anita Bosch as well. We still have a long way to go, and I'm so glad that we highlight the fact that we are getting there, step by step.
We've come a long way, definitely.
One area that seems to be highlighted constantly in a lot of our discussions around this topic is that women often find other women competition in that space, that one powerful woman will feel threatened by another. How prevalent is that, and why does this happen, and how can it make a woman in the workplace feel to know that not only is she competing against an already skewed environment, but actually this dominant kind of force in opposition in that workplace?
Sure. I think that we need to look at this narrative of power. What do we mean by powerful women? Because if we look at power, if we take away all the achievements and successes that women have, I mean, are we left with a powerful woman? So it's interesting to look at how are women perceiving other women as powerful. And in looking at this power, this whole power paradox, what I have found is that as much as women are sitting in these roles where they are in powerful executive positions, in leadership positions, a lot of them are also feeling powerless, feeling that they are still searching for their desires, and they're still yearning for desires. So I think what's important in this is that all women need to be asking some more organic questions. Well, how do I serve? What is my contribution? What is it that I admire in other women? And I think when women feel quite threatened, it leaves women feeling quite alone and isolated. And then again, that lack of support comes in. So I think that there is competition. It's part and parcel of life. I think that we're all striving to self-actualize, and what we need to do is actually really discover who we are. We need to know who we are. Like, we can't say, I believe. We almost need to know as if we are so sure that the sun's going to rise tomorrow. We know that the sun's going to rise tomorrow. Not believe it, So it's a deep sense of knowing who we are as women. And in that way, we won't feel so threatened by other women.
We're speaking about a lot of powerful women on the show today that's commanding their space and, going into higher positions. Would you say women are feeling, motivated and inspired to enter those higher level positions?
Absolutely. I think motivation is there because we all naturally want to self-actualize ourselves and really get to the very best version of ourselves. And I think women need to persevere. If you think about Oprah Winfrey, I mean, she was always told that she was unfit for TV, and yet look where she is today. So really just believing in yourself, persevering, that intrinsic motivation is there. We need to trust ourselves and trust the process, and know that, the last thing that comes from a fruit tree is the fruit itself. So we need to have that patience and pull through that with that perseverance that we inherently have within us.
And I'm glad you used the word inherent, because I think in I come from a single parent, a household of mom that just proved that every single day. So your strength reserves are far greater than you know. So believe in yourself, and hopefully today you've been as inspired, but still clearly a long way to go. So keep fighting, and I say that to both sides of the gender fence.